There are a lot of impractical firearms out there, and the Mossberg 590 Shockwave or similar short-barrel 12-gauge firearms might fit that bill. But in this video, we're going to talk about 5 practical applications that a firearm like this one might have that could justify that purchase for you to put it into your inventory. Hey everybody! It's Magic Prepper, and today we're talking about the Mossberg 590 Shockwave, and we're going to talk about 5 practical applications that a short-barrel 12-gauge firearm might have for you, especially in regards to preparedness. It's something that I definitely have been thinking about a lot lately, because as any purchase goes, when it comes to firearms, especially for me, I want to justify why it has a place in my inventory. And looking at a firearm like this one, you can say, that's impractical. It's definitely not efficient, and it's definitely not worth having. But I want you to know that I've thought very hard about some of these reasons in order to give you the justification you might need to make that purchase. And if you've ever bought an impractical firearm knowing that that's what you were doing, then hit the subscribe button below, because we're in the same boat, and sometimes I'll give you some ideas about why you can say it's okay. Now, first and foremost, this is a Mossberg 590 Shockwave JIC. This one is safe, unloaded, safety's on, so I just wanted to make sure we got that out of the way. The JIC model is stainless steel Cerakoted, so it's made for dealing with harsh environments, and it comes in this awesome tube, which is watertight and has some other applications as well. It's a 12-gauge short barrel firearm, so what that means is that it's not a shotgun, it's a firearm. And that's why they're able to sell it with about a 14-inch barrel, 14.375 inches to be exact. So, part of that is because it has the Raptor grip on it, which is never intended to be a stock. And you can understand why having a shoulder stock and something you actually place on your body, getting that third point of reference, is going to be very efficient for getting on target. But there are other applications here that this does a good job of. It has a 5+1 capacity of up to 3-inch 12-gauge shells, and obviously with 3 inches you're going to get about 4+1. 2 3/4 you'll get 5+1 no problem. And it's got a storage bag and everything in the tube as well, which is made for long-term stowaway situations, okay? So one of the biggest selling points on a firearm like this one is the fact that it's only 5.3 pounds. So it's very light compared to some of its bigger brothers, right? It's only 26.37 inches in length as well. So obviously, the thing that this style of 12-gauge firearm has over any other shotguns that might be offered in a similar configuration is that it's smaller and lighter. That can be a big deal, especially when you're talking about different types of applications. Your standard 590 that comes with the 18.5-inch barrel, okay? So basically what this is based off of in many ways is going to run you 6.3 pounds and have an overall length of 38.625 inches. So what that means is that you're saving a full pound by having something in this size package, and you're saving a foot in length for being able to put things away, store them, or use them in tight quarters. So a lot of things to consider for why this might have some practical application, all right? And I wanted to go through some of the specs here, just so you were aware of everything related to the Mossberg JIC 590 Shockwave, but there are many other models that are similar to this, including guns from Black Aces Tactical, Remington, there's a bunch of other ones out there. So I wanted to at least put that out there, as in this isn't necessarily purely a discussion on the 590 Shockwave, it's about these short-barreled 12-gauge firearms and what applications they might have for you. Now, was out shooting with the guys from the Concealed Journey the other day, had a good time, and we got to shoot the Shockwave a little bit, and it actually shot much better than I would have assumed. I had a little bit more control than I thought I would have been able to have, and it wasn't as unpleasant as I thought it was going to be. And we did shoot everywhere from birdshot target loads up to high velocity slugs. So you can see that there's a wide range of different power levels that you have access to, and you can find what works best for you in something this small. Now, to get this out of the way, this firearm is not going to be your primary choice for a shotgun if you need it for anything utilitarian. What I'm talking about is hunting, self-defense. There's a lot of things that you're going to use almost any other shotgun for. And this is not a shotgun, this is a firearm. So that's something that we have to make sure we are very clear on, because that is part of how this is available to us for purchase, okay? So let's talk about the 5 practical uses that something like this would have, okay? Because it has uses, I'm telling you. It's not just about not being able to, have a good time. It's about wanting to figure out a way to justify this thing being in my safe. Number one, practical use for the 590 Shockwave or similar 12 gauge short barrel firearms is going to be your ability to use it mobily inside of a vehicle, okay? In a vehicle in restrained quarters, it's able to be moved around a lot more effectively and a lot easier because of how small it is in the sense of size. Now, you might be saying, well, okay, but go ahead and pull that trigger and you're gonna blow all your ears out, or you're gonna bust your windows out, or who knows what's going to happen. And there might be some truth to that. But what could be the practical advantages of having a small package 12 gauge firearm within your vehicle? Well, one of them could definitely be something like having less lethal ammunition access. Think about what happened during the summer of 2020, and a lot of people were in vehicles that found themselves in a very, very precarious situation all of a sudden. Having something like a short barrel 12 gauge firearm could definitely give you access to things like rubber bullets and give you access to things like pepper rounds and all kinds of non-lethal stuff that you could then utilize in those moments that could help you get out of a bad situation. So there are applications there that could come in handy, especially being able to wield something with the ability to load those types of rounds in a small contained environment like a vehicle. Maybe something you haven't thought about yet, okay? What else is good to have this for? Well, another thing that I've thought about is a lot of preppers and a lot of people who are worried about like SHTF firearms and stuff like that talk about, you know, if I'm gonna bug out, I'm gonna head out, I'm gonna have my 5.56 and my 9mm, or I'm gonna have a 22 long rifle and my 357 Magnum, or whatever it might be, okay? There's a lot of different loadout configurations that people like to argue about until they turn blue in the face. But one thing I could say is that this could be something you could utilize for large predator defense, bear defense, things like that when you don't necessarily have the appropriate calibers to be able to do so. This could be an excellent camp gun. This could be a great tent gun. This could be something easy to have with you if you're out in the territory of large predators that aren't going to flinch at a 9mm the same way as they would with a 12 gauge. So definitely consider this as an option, because if your whole deal is that you walk around with a 22 long rifle everywhere you go, you're not really equipped to deal with something like a grizzly bear. But this could definitely handle a grizzly bear at close range. So it's something to keep in mind that practically this could easily deal with any large predator in North America, more so than a lot of the standard calibers a lot of people carry for self-protection. Due to the fact that things like 9mm are so popular, some people just don't think about bringing something a little more hefty with them when they're out in the sticks, okay? So something else to consider. What else is this good for? Another practical application, especially in the sense of like collapse, right? We're worried about societal collapse, things are falling apart, and you might want to have this with you, but it shouldn't be your primary. I will say that 100% of the time. Definitely not a primary option, and it definitely shouldn't be your secondary either. But what it could be is a good tertiary option for having a utility tool with you that could do things like breaching doors. So the third practical application here is breaching capability. Yes, it's not the ideal setup for breaching. However, breaching is still something that could be definitely beneficial if you find yourself in a bad situation. And being able to utilize what a 12 gauge can do over, say, a 5.56 or a 9mm in the sense of breaching a door and getting into somewhere you need to get into could be extremely handy and might be worth the additional 5.3 pounds and of course however much ammunition you bring with you for that breaching purpose to have that capability. So as a tool, as a practical tool, not necessarily as a firearm, but as something that could give you utilitarian use, this could be a really helpful item to have, okay? So, vehicle mobility, being able to utilize it inside of a vehicle, bear, large predator defense, of course. Door breaching is huge, being able to get into places that you might not be able to otherwise get into. But what's number 4 on the list, the fourth practical application, is going to be access to utility rounds. And what I mean by that is 12 gauge has so many different types of rounds and shells that you can put out into a 12 gauge firearm or shotgun and have a lot of different utilitarian aspects to what it is you're trying to do. So, for example, let's say you're lost in the woods and you need a signal for help. They sell 12 gauge signal flare rounds that you can literally put in this firearm and shoot off into the sky and signal for help. They also sell things like dragon's breath, which could easily light a fire in a survival situation. Yes, it might light the entire forest on fire, but it's still something you have access to. And of course, like we talked about before regarding vehicles, access to non-lethal ammunition as well is another option. So that gives you lots and lots of options in a small package that might be worth carrying with you. And I do have a pouch for this that I'll show you that you can actually attach to a backpack or sling over your shoulder. That makes it extremely easy to carry. Yes, it's more weight. 5.3 pounds is still more weight. And additional ammunition, especially when it comes to 12 gauge, is going to weigh quite a bit. But depends on your use and your application for what you decide you need it for. You could always shed the weight if need be, but having this with you could allow you access to a lot of different types of shotgun shells, which could give you a lot of different utility, which might come in handy and might be the difference of survival. Something to consider, okay? And the last thing that's very practical about this firearm, okay, is its ability to be stashed away. It's small, it's very small, it's very lightweight, and you can stash it or hide it or store it away for however long you need, wherever you need. If you have a bug out location, something like this, especially with a tube like this that can protect it with a storage bag inside that's ready to go for long-term storage, could be a good option for just a stash away, stow away firearm. Not to mention that if you are somebody who decides they want to bury some caches around, okay, or caches, however you want to say it, you can bury something like this probably a little bit easier than other certain types of firearms. It's very small, easy to put away, and what's great about pump action shotguns is they don't have the intricate interiors in the sense of mechanics for what might go wrong during a long-term storage situation or what might go wrong during a situation where you're burying it, or who knows what it is you're doing. But all I'm trying to say is it's a simplistic mechanism with a simplistic design that will probably still work even after a long, long time of being stashed away somewhere or buried or put somewhere else that might be exposing it to certain elements. There's a good chance it's still going to hold up quite a bit. So you can hide it, conceal it, bury it, whatever it is you need to do. It gives you that option to be a little bit easier in the sense of putting it away. Now, I've gone through all 5 practical applications that I came up with for this firearm. Did I need to justify this purchase? Yeah, because honestly, when it comes to 12 gauge, you have a lot of other better options for self-defense, for hunting, and everything else when it comes to shotguns, actual shotguns. But this 12 gauge firearm, as small as it is, and as impractical as it might seem, does have some practical applications, and it's something that you should definitely consider when you're thinking about purchasing one of these. You want it for the cool factor? Do it. I'm not going to be mad at you for that. But if you want to actually think about what it could be good for, hopefully this list just helped you out. And hopefully, if you were wondering if you're going to be allowed to buy one of these based on what your spouse might have said or who knows what else, now you have a way to convince them. So you do what you got to do. If you have any questions for me at all, leave it in the comments below. And if you have other practical applications for 12 gauge short barreled firearms, which is what this is because it is not a shotgun, leave them in the comments so we can talk about it and maybe get some more ideas about what people can utilize things like these for. This is a tool, a very versatile and a very utilitarian tool that can do a lot of different things. Not the best, but it transports well. And that might make the difference for why you would have it with you, whereas you would probably not want to carry a full-size 12 gauge shotgun because of weight, length, and everything else related to more stuff. Hopefully this was a good conversation for you. Anything else you need from me at all, go to magicprepper.com, and that's going to be it for Magic Prepper.